afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Patriots MayeFlower Voyage. Here on the NE Patriots Talk, this is a very special episode here today because not only as we have our usual suspects, me, your captain of the ship, DTN, we got Thomas, we got Austin as usual, but we have a very special guest. You may know him from the AFC East Roundtable chat. You may see him in a couple of like Colby's chats. We have Anthony Padilla, a longtime Bills fan, I would say. But welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I'm glad to be on here, and I'm glad to help support you guys and to talk about this game Sunday night. It's gonna be fun and interesting.
That's gonna be cool. Thomas,
welcome
how are you doing?
Great. Thank you for asking. Literally looking through my apps. All I can find is this. Literally just doing a Salvation Army run. Because you're born, just literally ball out at Thursday Night Football. So there we go.
How about you, Austin?
Yeah, doing good. Excited to talk some football, especially with having Anthony here, getting a different perspective that we're not really used to. I know as Pats fans, we're like super biased. We're just gonna be pumping up the Pats, and sometimes it's nice to just have that outside voice and just let us know what they think of our team and kind of give us an idea of a team that maybe we're not tracking as much.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And by the way, guys, before we get started, please make sure that you smash the like button, hit subscribe. It's completely free. It helps us grow significantly here on this channel, and we appreciate your support, especially as we welcome our guest Anthony here. And make sure everybody in the chat gives him a warm welcome. I see you, Gerard. I see you, Desi Plays. I would assume that's Molly. And then obviously our
Desi Plays is not. It's actually she's my girlfriend.
That's your girlfriend. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then obviously we have our local Chiefs fan, Jamie. Welcome aboard. Please make sure, guys, if you want to interact with us, please make sure that you be respectful. And then obviously post your questions and comments in the YouTube chat. Make sure we keep it football, Patriots related, or anything football related. That's good. It's going to be awesome. But let's get this started with this show. And we'll start with asking this, Anthony. So we know that the Bills are currently the number one team in the AFC conference and also the AFC East. And I want to ask you this. What are your thoughts on like your overall performance so far on the Buffalo Bills?
I feel like, week one, we let a lot of – the run game has been the biggest issue, obviously, with Buffalo coming into the season because it was like last year as well. We have some injuries. We have a few guys that are suspended. Ed Oliver obviously being questionable. He's the one that punched out that ball against King Henry in week one, and then, the way we come back against Baltimore in the last 5 minutes of the game was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Just to sit through with Jamie as we're streaming, and it was awesome. And then the week after that, we played the Jets, and we just there was no answer for the Jets against us at all. And then when we played the Dolphins, it was just, we just let them stay in the game. We couldn't get off the field with third down defense. That's been the biggest thing, I think, the last 2 weeks, honestly, with the Dolphins and the Saints as our third down defense. And that's going to play a key part against the Patriots this weekend, especially Sunday night, Will Buffalo fumble and the ball on third down defense, and we'll give you guys the opportunity, the Patriots the opportunity to stay in this ball game and to just go pound for pound. Stephon Diggs, he's starting to come to after that ACL injury. I'm pretty sure Vrabel and that offense is gonna want to get Diggs involved early in that football game against Buffalo, being back in Orchard Park, and that's going to be the focal point there. And it's going to definitely open up opportunities for everybody else with the Patriots and that offense as well. So that's going to be something to look out for.
Any questions from you, Austin and Thomas?
Yeah, actually, I do have one here. Despite the competition throughout the season for the Bills, what was the one game? What was the one game out of those four you were like, oh crap, we're almost gonna shit the bed?
That like Buffalo was going to crap the bed.
Yes.
No, I thought maybe the first game because we were down by 15 points with 5 minutes to go, and I was thinking, man, are we going to stop Derrick Henry? Are we going to stop Lamar Jackson? You know, are we going to? I mean, what's going on here? What are you guys doing? You know, and then when we made a couple stops at the end of the game to where with Ed Oliver punching that ball out, and then we couldn't convert on 2-point conversions for the life of us for whatever reason. It just blew my mind, and I was like, what is going on here? And I was like, okay, they're going to get the ball back with like 3 minutes left of this game, and it's 40-38, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we just got to stop these guys, and then the way that Sean McDermott called those timeouts and the way the defense stepped up at that last drive and to hold them to punt the ball and then just give it to Josh Allen from there. And I knew at that point when we got the ball back, it was like, yes, we're actually going to win this football game. I cannot believe this. We were down by 15, and we could not stop Derrick Henry, cannot stop Lamar Jackson, and then finally we were able to do it when it mattered the most. I was like, well, I think this team has something to show everybody, and we showed them on week 1. And then from there, it was just, like the last 2 weeks, we kind of stalled out on offense, and our third down defense isn't as well as it has been. It's amazing, So week 1 was the one to where I thought maybe, we could have lost that game for sure. I thought it was a possibility we were going to go 0-1 start the season.
Yeah, that game is nuts.
Yeah,
honestly.
In terms of, oh, go ahead now. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, especially if it was a primetime game, and especially that was the very first Sunday Night Football game that it was really awesome to watch. Go ahead, Austin.
So my question to you is basically in terms of, the little win streak the Bills are kind of on, having arguably, one of their better starts in some of these recent years, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think attributes most to these wins? Like, do you think it's the play of Josh Allen that's getting you these wins? Is it the coaching? Is it a specific group of positional players? What do you think has really gone into these wins?
I think it's like the unit cohesiveness that Buffalo has with their players and the off season going in, and obviously Josh Allen is a huge part, obviously, but you don't win that football game if Ed Oliver doesn't punch that ball out with Derrick Henry. You don't win that football game with Terrell Bernard in the fourth quarter against the Miami Dolphins. Get that interception to seal the victory for the Buffalo Bills in that Dolphin game on Thursday Night Football. It doesn't work that way. And then for Allen again, it's just I think it's a collective team effort. In the first half of this last week game against the Saints, there was concerns with Cole Bishop and his safety play, and then they were trying to do that Philly special against Buffalo, and Cole Bishop seen it, and then he had one-handed interception against them, and it ended the half, for that game, and then Josh Allen in the fourth quarter with the Saints, he just decides, you know what, I am the MVP of this league. I'm the MVP of my football team, and I am the captain. I got to do something. I got to show these guys, and they feed off that. Deion Dawkins, that left tackle, that his whole main goal is to protect number 17. That whole offensive line, Connor McGovern. The way they talk to each other, the way they communicate with each other on and off the field. It's. I don't think there's nothing that can match that for this team this year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get started with talking about the injury reports. We will get to the so far for the Patriots injury report. As far as we know, that Kayvon Chason Carlton Davis and Milton Williams are all questionable for this upcoming game against the Buffalo Bills heading to Sunday Night Football. And so let's just focus on the Bills injury report, because the Bills injury report is really interesting, because we obviously know that the last two games we saw Ed Oliver and Matt Milano out for those past two games. This week we got Dorian Strom out with a neck injury, Dorian Williams with a knee injury, and then the four players that are questionable: Matt Milano still with a pectoral injury, Ed Oliver with an ankle injury, TJ Sanders with a knee injury, and Spencer Brown with a calf injury. Let's mainly talk about Ed Oliver and Matt Milano, because when we talk about this, Anthony, these two players are basically like the heart of the defense. So how important are Ed Oliver and Matt Milano to this defense?
Yeah, they're very important. I mean, let's talk about Matt Milano. I mean, he's good in coverage. He's good at helping stopping the run when when he's able to get to the area where he needs to be at. He's a very physical guy. He's a monster. He's a monster linebacker that nobody wants to play with. That wants to play against, in better words. And with Ed Oliver, it's the fact that he's very physical. You get him going, and the way he like I said, in week one he punched that ball out against Derrick Henry. If it wasn't for him, we probably would have never won that football game. He's just, there's a lot of physical, a lot of fast. The energy that they bring to that defense is just it's unmatched with Buffalo. Without them, we have holes.
Interesting, because I know that Ed Oliver has been with this team since 2019 as far as as a first rounder pick, and then Matt Milano, I forgot which draft Matt Milano came out of, because let me just quickly take a look at Matt Milano, see which. So he's basically drafted in 2017 by the Buffalo Bills, so that's really impressive, especially for his age. Let's talk about Dorian Strong and Dorian Williams. So basically, Dorian Strong is basically the rookie cornerback, and then we obviously know Dorian Williams is the linebacker for this team. Will there be holes on this for the secondary linebacker room, or basically your guys are gonna still roll with Benford, Taron Johnson, and then a whole bunch of stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of more of a next man up for the Buffalo Bills, I'd imagine. I know they picked up Jordan Poyer. He's in the practice squad. If they needed somebody, for the veteran type thing, I know we're talking to cornerbacks here, but I know with Poyer, he's definitely helped out Cole Bishop. But I can definitely let's look at the depth chart real quick to verify exactly. Yeah, because we have Benford, Sam Franklin Jr. I mean, I don't really know too much about. Well, he's a safety, so. But we do have Cam Lewis. Cam Lewis has been with the Buffalo Bills for a while, and he'll provide, that factor if to help out with the cornerback position since Dorian Strong's out. And we also have Jamarcus Ingram, which he's been playing pretty good when his number's called. So I don't think there's going to be much of anything, as just long as everybody just keeps playing their style of football and just stay on assignment.
Interesting. Okay, now let's get into the depth chart and what we should. Let's dive into the opponent here. So let's start off with, of course, the MVP, Josh Allen.
Yes.
What have you seen from Josh Allen so far compared to last season and the season before? Because it seems like ever since the departure of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, and obviously the bringing in Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator to replace Ken Dorsey, how do you feel about Josh Allen's performance from this past season to this season so far?
I feel like he's not forcing much of anything that much anymore. I feel like he's just playing what the defense is giving it to him, and he's just playing the style that needs to be played in, a complementary football for the Buffalo Bills. I just feel like with when he's able to turn on when we need him to step up and make a play, I feel like he steps up and makes that play for the Buffalo Bills, and he's able to find people downfield when needs be. He's just a monster, man. He's unbelievable. I mean, I think it's just the fact that he just doesn't force anything like he used to.
Interesting. When we compare, I know that there's so many debates between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, but so why do like analysts think that Josh Allen is like a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson? Granted that both of these two were both from the first round in 2018 and both had impressive MVP seasons. But why do you think that Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson?
I think maybe just for the fact that with the Ravens, you have, Derrick Henry in the backfield. You have Isaiah Likely as their tight end. You have DeAndre Hopkins, that they just picked up this last year for the Ravens, and a couple other people, Rashad Bateman and all that, who have proven to be a threat for the Ravens. And as they've rolled, and with Josh Allen and the Bills, we don't really have that number one guy. We don't have a Stephon Diggs anymore. We have Khalil Shakir, who's a great slot corner or a slot receiver, excuse me. We have Keon Coleman a second year, which has proven that he's getting better, as in year two. I mean, we have Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. We have three tight ends. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and Jackson Haas. And Haas have shined as a rookie. Kincaid is continuing to shine for Buffalo, for Allen, and it's everybody eats, along with and then you have James Cook in the backfield, so it's just I think honestly it just comes down to weapons on why they probably think Allen is a little bit better than Lamar Jackson.
Interesting. Let's talk about James Cook, because I feel like this past off season has been one interesting story for James Cook, as we all know that James Cook was like heading into his final year of his deal, and then during like training camp, as far as we know, he was holding out, he was holding in because he wanted to get a new deal, because he wanted to stay with the Buffalo Bills, and there were issues that were reported that we could see a production from Ray Davis and then obviously Ty Johnson, but we all know that James Cook is like the heart and the soul for this offense. So how important is James Cook to this offense, considering that he's currently the second running back with the most rushing yards this season so far, and how crucial he is?
Obviously it just showed with the contract that he's proven to everybody why he should have gotten that contract, and he's going to show, I think, every week why he deserves it. He's a special guy. The team loves him. Josh Allen wants him there. He's very versatile. He knows how to. He's just. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, the last week against the Saints, I mean, there was that one run where he just he had 3 or 4 Saints on him, and he just kept bull rushing everybody. I couldn't believe it. That's the first time I've ever seen that with James Cook. And I know Joe Brady made a comment, the offense coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, made a comment about Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, how they want to utilize them more. It's just what the game kind of gave them. So I would expect more from Ray Davis and Ty Johnson in the future for Buffalo. But, right now everything's going well for James Cook as the primary running back for the Buffalo Bills.
Interesting, because I see a lot, because with Joe Brady's offense, instead of like Ken Dorsey's offense where you're just basically just chugging and just throwing all of the balls to like Diggs and your wide receivers, and now with Joe Brady's offense, it's a little more well-balanced. You see a lot more run plays, a lot more RPOs, and a little bit of throwing to wide receivers. The problem, there's this thing with the wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills, and I know that media has been criticizing Brandon Beane for not like bringing in like talent in the wide receiver room, because you basically have Josh Allen and you basically have James Cook carrying this offense. So let's talk about these wide receivers, and I think that it's completely different compared to 2023. But you still have 2024. You still have Khalil Shakir. You still have you just added Joshua Palmer, and obviously second year Keon Coleman. Let's talk about Keon Coleman. Last season, rookie season, I would say it was not like his best season. So what do you expect out of Keon Coleman and how he could be a huge contributor to this Buffalo Bills offense?
I think Keon has done great. That Sunday Night Football game with Keon was right there in that right place at the right moment to get that tip, to get that score, to help the Buffalo Bills to come back against Baltimore. I mean, that right there, last year, I don't think he would have had that moxie to be in that position, to be in that right place at the right time, to catch that ball. I know in the offseason, I was watching an interview with Keon Coleman about how they were asking him questions about, they said, well, how did you and Alan talk? What did you and Alan talk about in the offseason? Blah, blah, blah. He didn't give anything up. He was like, well, we just communicated. That's all we did. And that's what he's doing with Josh Allen. He's communicating, every day, every practice, trying to talk to him, letting him know, hey, this is what we're doing, and this and that and the other, I'd assume, and it correlates on the football field, and he's just starting to come to what the Buffalo Bills drafted him to become.
That's really interesting because I feel like everybody was ragging on the Buffalo Bills for like why did the Buffalo Bills like trade down twice from the first round and then they didn't get like a Xavier Worthy, and how like the Chiefs pick up to get a Xavier Worthy, the Buffalo Bills should have had a chance. But I would assume that it was more of a scheme based type offense because that you already have a similar type of wide receiver from Xavier Worthy to Khalil Shakir, and Khalil Shakir. I know Keon Coleman is like there's going to be some growing pains with him, but with Khalil Shakir, given that contract that he was given last offseason, what are your thoughts on Khalil Shakir and how he is continuing to develop and how he's becoming one of the threats for the Buffalo Bills?
He is such a stud. I think he's awesome. I think he's like a Cole Bishop, or not a Cole Bishop. Excuse me, a Cole Beasley, in better words. Excuse me, or a Wes Welker type of thing. He's versatile. He is tough, and he's dependable. When you need somebody to make a catch, or you need a play, and you need 5 yards, he'll be there for you to get it. And that's what Buffalo needs.
Interesting. Any questions from the guys so far?
Nope.
No, I'm really liking what I'm hearing. I'm glad we're getting a lot of good insight that we honestly wouldn't really know about. Like I said, we really target on our Patriots, so it's nice hearing a new view.
Yeah. Well, let's now talk about this offensive line, and we'll get back to the tight ends. But this offensive line, what I love about how good the Buffalo Bills are, people will always say, "Oh, wide receivers, the heart and the soul for the offense." But when you think about this, I would say the offensive line is more. I would say the trenches are more important for this team because once you have like a good trenches, you're giving your quarterback time to move around or give us a protection. When we talk about this offensive line, Anthony, because this offensive line has been really consistent for like these past 1 or 2 years, and they have been, I would say, like top 10 in all categories, whether it's passing and run blocking. How crucial is it to have like a really good offensive line, considering that you have Dawkins, you have Edwards, you have McGovern, Torrance, and then obviously Brown, who is questionable right now. But how crucial is that offensive line for the Buffalo Bills?
It's very crucial because last year it speaks for itself. Allen was the least sacked quarterback last year. He had 14 sacks last year, and he was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL. I mean, obviously with his mobility and everything else. But, if it wasn't for, I mean, Deion Dawkins, McGovern, Spencer Brown, and David Edwards, man, they're just amazing, and Cyrus Torrance is another guy too, which is awesome too. Without those guys, I don't think Allen would have had the time to make those plays that he's made coming into the season.
Yeah. I just love, because I really love that offensive line, because people rag about the Patriots saying like, oh, we need to have a really good offensive line because we were one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and using the Bills as a good example to see how how consistent this offensive line is, because we all know about the Lions defense and the Eagles defense, but I mean the Lions offensive line and the Eagles offensive line, but rarely anybody talks about the Bills offensive line. And what I like about this Bill offensive line is how
and not to mention, the fact that without that offensive line, Cook, he ain't going anywhere,
Right.
I mean, the credit to the offensive line to open up them holes for Cook to cook.
For Cook to cook. Well, I love that. Let's now head over to this tight ends, and oh my goodness, the tight ends have been looking great so far. I felt like Dalton Kincaid. Let's talk about Dalton Kincaid, because he was a former first rounder out of Utah back in 2023. So outside of that drop that he had against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, how has Dalton Kincaid become this tight end one for the Buffalo Bills in spite of that mistake that he had last season?
I think it juiced him this offseason to where he actually lost some weight and he gained some muscle. And he came into this offseason determined and wanting to make a difference for this next season. And it has shown, every game this year. It's just what he's been doing, It's been awesome. And then you have Jackson Hawes, who is the rookie tight end, who is a great blocker for the Buffalo Bills. That's why they brought him in. But he also has great hands as well. So not only can he block, but he can catch.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Jackson Hawes, because I've been hearing stories about like, oh, Colston Loveland is this guy, Mason Taylor's that guy, or Tyler Warren is the best tight end in this draft, but no one ever talks about Jackson Hawes, especially with his pass blocking and run blocking abilities, especially when I saw that touchdown that Josh Allen threw to Jackson Hawes in that game against Miami. How crucial is Jackson Hawes, and do you think that he could elevate his role to be a tight end too, just because of Dawson Knox not getting that production that he needs as often as he used to?
I think it is crucial. I mean, obviously, again, the whole thing with the Buffalo Bills and Joe Brady's offense is everybody gets to eat. So they might target Khalil Shakir one game more so often than Dalton Kincaid, or it might just be all run and not much passing. You know what I'm saying? So you never know what you're going to get with Buffalo until the game until the game starts, until the kickoff, and then until that first possession of play.
Interesting. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure that you smash the like button, hit subscribe. It's completely free. It helps us grow significantly here on this channel. And as usual, guys, please post your questions and comments in the YouTube chat. We would love to hear all of your thoughts at the end of the show. But let's now head over to this defense. And oh my gosh, I had so much high hopes for this Bills defense, considering that this should be one of your strengths, but the defense has regressed. Let's talk about the overall defense before we get into position by position. But what were your thoughts on how disappointing? Why is this defense so disappointing this season compared to last season? Granted that there was several injuries, but what has been going on with this Bills defense?
I think it's just injuries and suspensions. Michael Hoyt, Larry Anjubojobi, they're both suspended, obviously for PED issues and for whatever else they got going on. And then, our TJ Sanders who's questionable for the game. You have our rookie cornerback Maxwell Hairston, who was supposed to be the Week 1 starter against the Baltimore Ravens, ended up getting hurt, and he's now on IR. And now it's just sad. And then you have Ed Oliver, who goes down in practice because someone landed on his foot, and Matt Milano, who obviously they paid him I think a couple years ago, and he's been a very vocal. He's been a great linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, and the injuries have just riddled him the last few years, and just unfortunately Buffalo lately has just been a next man up type of thing, and without the injuries, I think Buffalo would be, maybe they'd be a different football team on defense.
Yeah. When we talk about this defense, could it also be a factor if it has to do with Brandon Beads drafting talent at defense, or is it Babbich's inability to play call?
I think they're still trying to find themselves. Personally, I don't think it's necessarily Brandon Bean. I think it's just necessarily trying to figure out the weaknesses and strengths of that defense, and on how to plug and play and where people need to be at. It's obviously Babbich's second year. I know he's been in the league for a few years, I'd imagine. I think he was a linebackers coach before he became a head coach. To put on, to be the defensive coordinator and to try to be that guy to where Buffalo's defense has always been, superb in the previous years before the last few years. It's just, I think we're still trying to find our identity.
Yeah, because I know fan base is always hammering on Brandon Bean, but I feel like because of you got so much of this young talent, obviously you have a little bit of old talent for sure, but I feel like that this defense, this is just the beginning of the season. So basically, there's still time to improve for all sides of the football, whether it's for the Bills, whether it's for the Patriots, because as Bill Belichick always says, football doesn't matter the most until it's November and December, and we're already until the first few days of October, and it's going to be interesting. But let's now break it down with this defensive line. So I'm looking at this defensive line, and I could be wrong about this because I don't have individuals for who is currently on the injury report right now, because we currently have Greg Rousseau. We obviously have Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders, who are currently questionable. You still have Dake. I don't know if Daquan Jones is currently on IR or he's still.
No, he's not. He's playing. He's full. He's active.
Okay, Daquan Jones, and then obviously the biggest addition to this Bills defense, Joey Bosa.
Yes.
I heard that Joey Bosa is currently leading the league in forced fumbles. How crucial, especially on a one-year deal, is
that's amazing. It's amazing because Joey Bosa has been awesome. He made a comment 2 weeks ago before the Thursday night football game. He made a comment saying this is the healthiest and happiest I've ever been in a long time. And when you have a defender that is at that level, say that's scary in my opinion. That'd be like saying Von Miller, when Buffalo had him, saying I'm the healthiest and happy that I've ever been. That's a scary thing. And I know King Jamie sits there and says he's not the wrong Bosa now. Because he sits there and said, you got the wrong Bosa. But no, it's amazing. He created a fumble this last week, in fact, against the Saints. Granted, the Saints recovered the ball. He created a fumble against the Jets, against Justin Fields. And I think with, he kind of Justin Fields went out because of the hit against Bosa in that game late in, I think, third or fourth quarter, to where Fields had to leave because of the concussion.
Yeah. And the one thing I love about Bosa, and granted that he has dealt with a couple of injuries during his time with the San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers, because I thought he would be a Charger at heart, but hearing that he got cut by the Chargers and side with the Bills, I felt like they really needed something on defense, because last season you had Greg Rousseau, you have AJ Epineza, so basically I feel like you did boost up your defense, your edge rushers with Joey Bosa, and obviously you drafted Landon Jackson. But let's talk about this one defensive tackle. I know Dan mentions this guy a lot, but I feel like he could step up into the moment, and that is Deon Walker. What are your thoughts on Deon Walker, especially during his? I think this is his rookie season. So, what are your thoughts on Deon Walker and how he could wreak havoc, especially that this is the test for the Patriots' offensive line?
Yeah, I think he's doing very well. I haven't really paid too much attention to him because I've been kind of focusing more on Bosa. I've been trying to see what they've been doing lately. But I'm definitely going to probably this game, I'm going to focus a little bit on the defense just a little bit more. But I do know that Deon Walker has made some significant has affected the game a little bit for the opposing team. You know, he's made a difference in that defense. And I think what needs to, I think, you know, as long as everybody gets healthy towards the end of the season, going to, you know, that the Bills defense can create pressure against opposing teams. I mean, obviously, you know, with the Patriots, you know, they did a lot of things this offseason, you know, with that offensive line and on the defensive end part, you know, on that defensive side as well. You know, and it's definitely, you know, in order to win that game, they're going to have to make the opposing team, you know, you get to pressure that the opposing quarterback to make mistakes. Because if you don't, then you're not going to, you know, then it's going to be a long game.
Yeah. Where would you say, I should have asked this question before we break this down, but where would you say the biggest weakness is for this Bills defense?
I think, honestly, obviously it's that run defense. I think that's the biggest thing that we need to clean up for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what's going on with them and why they're giving up so many yards against the opposing teams. I think Buffalo is right there on the bottom with I can't remember who it is, but they're the second most. I think they give up the most with 167 yards a game on opposing running backs, you know, and that needs to be cleaned up. Buffalo's number one in pass defense, but you know, I mean, the reason why we're number one in pass defense because everybody's running up against us, you know. So, but you know, having Tre'Davious White back and the cornerback, I mean, this last game, Buffalo had a lot of issues. It came down to penalties and just bad holding calls, you know, and all that, and that's what kept the Saints in the game.
That's really interesting to know because I feel like after seeing that game against the Ravens, I could tell that the Buffalo Bills run defense is highly questionable. So I think that probably in the next draft, I would see a little more on defense being added up for the Buffalo Bills, but nevertheless, you're still really good as like a whole team in general. But let's not talk about these linebackers. And we all know about Matt Milano currently rehabbing right now from that pectoral injury. But the one linebacker I want to talk about, Terrell Bernard. This guy, I would say he's one of the more underrated linebackers in the league right now. How good is Terrell Bernard, especially that the one notable play that I saw was him getting that interception off of Tua?
He's amazing. He's a captain, and he's a captain. You know, he's a captain for a reason on that defense because he just like Milano. When Milano came into the Buffalo at the beginning of the year, he's right there where the ball is. He follows wherever the ball is at, and he's just there on every play of the game. You know, he's always there at the end of the play of every possession. It's just unbelievable. You know, as long as Terrell Bernard stays healthy, you know, that defense, you know, him and Milano together, it's just it's sick. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Okay, let's see what else. What else we have? So basically, if Matt Milano is out, and if we already know Dorian Williams is out, but I could see a lot of Shaq Thompson, and I know that Shaq Thompson previously, I think he played for the Carolina Panthers. So what are your thoughts on the addition of Shaq Thompson into the linebacker room? Granted that since we all know Matt Milano has been out for the past 2 months, he's been the most injury prone, and then Dorian Williams is going to be out. How is Shaq Thompson and Joe Andreessen, if I'm going to butcher that name, how are these two going to like step up?
Buffalo Joe, because Joe Andreessen is a Buffalo native, and that dude's awesome. But Shaq, to answer your question about Shaq Thompson, I don't really know too much about him, but I know he has played pretty good ball, in the couple games when he has been in, and he's been pretty good. But Joe Andreessen as well. I mean, I feel like our linebacker depth is deep, and with Milano being questionable and possibly could be out, I don't think we have anything to really worry about per se. But I do know that they say that with Matt Milano, he's more better in coverage than the other linebackers. But Joe Andreessen's another dog, just like Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, we have David Negrin in the chat. He said Terrell is a dog, brother. I'm glad we have him. Yeah, I heard great things about Terrell Bernard, especially that I did cheer on for the Bills to beat the Chiefs because we obviously know about the Chiefs-Bills rivalry, and we all knows about these stories because I hope that because I obviously want to see teams doing well, especially. But let's talk about the cornerbacks now. We all know that last offseason, Rasul Douglas, I think, he left for the Miami Dolphins, and because I think he's getting his contract. But with Tre'Davious White's presence, and granted that Christian Bedford is currently your quarterback, what are your thoughts on like the cornerback room, considering that it's Bedford, White, Charles Johnson, and then obviously return of Cam Lewis, and then Jordan Hancock.
Yeah, I think Tre'Davious White coming back he is last week he cost us some penalties and whatever, but that's Tre'Davious White for you at times. I mean, he's a veteran. He's at his end of his career, I'd assume, within the next 2 to 3 years. I'm pretty sure he would retire. But, he was in there to help Maxwell Hairston, the rookie cornerback who is supposed to be that number one for that left cornerback position. And with Maxwell Hairston out, we had to put in White, but Christian Bedford is a beast. And Dorian Strong's another guy that we drafted in this last year as well. And he's proven to be just as effective as Maxwell Hairston was before he got hurt. And it's just, it's awesome. I have no doubt that our cornerback room is going to step up and shine when we need them to shine.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the cornerback room, I think that maybe adding one more corner, just maybe if like another player gets injured, I think like getting on one more corner, especially that we all had hopes for Maxwell Harris, that considering that I think he was like the fastest corner during the combine, and we had hopes that, and I think that he's a great guy because I saw him like dapping up other prospects in the draft, and I think that he's gonna be like one of their more positive players, even though there's those rumors about like his allegations at the high school mean nothing for Maxwell Harrison. Maxwell Harrison, excuse me. When could you see Maxwell Harrison returning to the 53-man roster? Because there's a possibility he could go up against us in the second matchup, week 15 at New England.
Honestly, I think there's a 21-day window for Maxwell Harrison to be in to be on the active roster. They just want to see. I think with Buffalo, what they're doing with him they got to bring him up slow, because the less you don't want to rush somebody with an injury and then have them re-aggravate that injury, because that's the last thing you really would want to do. But I think they're just going to take their time with him, and then they're going to give him that window, along with a couple of other people as well. That was on the LIR.
Any questions from the guys so far, or not yet?
Just to comment on, like, because it's interesting looking at the Patriots and the Bills, because it's basically one of the best run defenses in the league going against one of the best pass defenses in the league, and then where do I see it? Right here. The Bills, second in points per game, 6th in passing yards a game, 1st in rushing yards a game. Like, that's like, you're going to be trending towards historic defense or historic offense.
Yeah.
And the Patriots themselves, they're top 10 in every category except the rushing. Our rushing has really lacked. But what do you think about the Patriots kind of rising to be in that top 10 after being pretty much bottom tier these past 5 years? And how do you think that affects, Sunday night's game? Because say we're talking 2 years ago and it's like Mac Jones, you're probably just penciling in a win, right? Like, you're not even giving this a second thought. So
Mac Jones did pretty good last night, by the way.
he did.
Yes.
But,
surprisingly, with a good with some weapons out of San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But back to your question, I think it's pretty awesome. I think honestly, I'm happy. We need somebody to compete in that division with Buffalo, because we have a weak division. We really do. Besides coming out, the last few years with Buffalo winning the last 6 years in a row, everybody just says, oh, well, Buffalo's in a weak division, so it's nothing. The Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, what have they done? But the thing about it, though, is, you guys had Bill Belichick until the last 2-3 years, and Mac Jones, his first year being in a Patriot uniform, he was great. He had flashes of being great, and then it just year 2 kind of regressed, and for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, but it just blew my mind. I'm just happy to see, Mike Vrabel. I believe the Buffalo Bills record against Mike Vrabel is not very good, to be quite frank. So there's a good possibility that, Mike Vrabel has something on Buffalo for Sunday night football, to where we could see a Patriot victory in a sense, So I'm just happy to see the fact that the Patriots have a head coach, and the fact that they actually spent a lot of money getting all the players that they end up getting this offseason, as well as in the draft, to protect their quarterback.
Interesting. There's actually one more position I want to get into, and then we could talk about like the keys on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the safety room. And I know that Cole Bishop has been the main focal point for the safety room outside of Taylor Rapp. I know that everybody talks about DeMar Hamlin and his story and here and there, but the thing with Cole Bishop is, where do you see his development where do you see his development heading into now? He's in like year 2 of his career.
Well, I know there was questions going into the season, because I know I believe the Bobby Babbage and the coaching staff made a comment about the safeties and how they need to step up, or they're gonna end up finding somebody else. I think there was something that was said along those lines. I don't know if it was word for word by any means, but I know they were upset with the safeties, and ever since then, Cole Bishop has stepped up, and obviously it showed last week against the Saints on his coverage and the way he recognized something, and he got that pick. I think Cole Bishop is a heck of a safety, and it's just a matter of keep plugging in and keep doing what he has to do to develop to be better every game. As far as Taylor Rapp, I mean, we do need another safety. We don't have a Poyer Hyde like we did in the past, and that is a little concerning, I guess, for the safety part of that defense as well. But I believe Buffalo's defense is going to get better as the year progresses. I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's some improvements for this Buffalo defense because I know that the trade deadline is coming up in like about a month. So I think that there's still time for all teams, not just the Bills, not just the Patriots, to like acquire or get rid of some players for draft capital and whatnot. So I could see like there's a possibility of like the Bills probably trading for maybe like another linebacker or maybe another safety route because we obviously know about Matt Malone's current situation going on, or if there's like lack of depth at the safety route because currently it's Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop, who I think that they could be. I think they're like an okay tandem in my opinion. What are your thoughts on?
And then you have DeMar Hamlin, and then you also have Sam Franklin Jr., who I don't really know too much about. Unfortunately, I feel bad about that. But, I do like DeMar Hamlin. I think DeMar Hamlin last year, he led the team in tackles, I think, last year. Everybody sits there and says, oh, he's not great in this and that and the other. But if you look at it, I mean, he had a lot of tackles. It's just, DeMar Hamlin isn't, they just want, I think they just want a safety that's the it factor. I think that's probably why they picked up Cole Bishop. They want somebody to be like a Poyer and a Micah Hyde.
I think we got a question from our good old friend KJ. This is for you, Anthony.
Oh my heavens!
Finally make it to the AFC Championship just to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you draft a new quarterback or fire your DC? JK, bro, JK.
I think when it comes down to it, I just feel like it's just trying to find their identity. I just think give it this year before we just sit there and just say in the middle of a game to fire the head coaches. I feel like everybody's in a panic mode. I know Bills fans want a chance. I know that we want a Super Bowl win. We want to see the Buffalo Bills to a Super Bowl and win it. That would be the greatest thing because then everybody in the AFC East has won a championship. But in all reality, you just can't give up in the middle of the football game. You got to go. That's what, like in week 1, when Allen's seen all the fans leave in the fourth quarter, I know probably some of them just left because they wanted to get out there because that was their MO anyways every game or whatever. But a lot of people left, and Josh Allen, it sparked some anger in Josh Allen, and he said, hey, I understand you had to leave. That's fine. It's okay, but keep the faith next time, because it's just one game. Their whole purpose of this week and the team mantra is you go 1-0 each week. They don't care about last week. They don't care about next week. They care about this week and this week alone.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously because obviously the same old story with like in the AFC's, we all know the AFC's round table as far as we know, and we see a couple of like opposing fan bases going out at the Bills saying that they have zero out of 4 Super Bowl rings, and it's usually getting them all riled up because that's been the whole narrative of the story. Then again, Dolphins and Jets has still like harking over that old history about like their old Super Bowls that they haven't seen in over 30 to 50 years. So that's what I'm a little annoyed about nowadays. But let's not. Okay, let's see one another. Let's see what Jamie also asked. He said, okay, then, when the Patriots put 45 points on you this week, do you fire your DC then? Let's talk about Babbage for a second. Like, I know that Babbage...
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. That take. I'm sorry. Jamie, I know you hate the Bills because you're a Chiefs fan. I'm sorry. That take. You get an F for that. Because I'm sorry. I'm gonna be realistic as possible here. There's no chance in hell we're going to put 45 points against these Bills. Because I know Buffalo more than I know Buffalo because my family are longtime Patriots fans here. Like, Buffalo keeps owning us every year. It doesn't matter how many points we score against them here. We can't even play good against them.
We're just saying because
Jamie's more trolling than anything.
You always keep it close against the Bills, but let's talk about let's talk about the matchups. Let's start with like the Patriots offense against the Bills defense. So let's talk about key matchups. Like, let's talk about the Patriots wide receivers against the Bills corners. So Austin, I want to ask you this: which matchup do you think is going to be really crucial for this Patriots offense going up against either one of the Bills corners, whether it's Bedford or Taron Johnson or even Tre'Davious White?
I think it's going to be. I just think with Stephon Diggs coming in that game, it's going to be interesting to see what those cornerbacks do with Stephon Diggs. That's my thing on that. I think that any NFL team, when you have a player that's going against an opposing team that they've been a part of, you're going to want them involved in that game. So I'm looking for Stephon Diggs to make a huge impact in this football game against Buffalo, against the cornerbacks, against Christian Benford, against Tre'Davious White, and against Taron Johnson. I think that's going to be the biggest. I think that's going to be a key matchup for the Buffalo Bills defense and the cornerback is Stephon Diggs against our cornerbacks.
Interesting, Austin. When we talk about this, could you see besides Stephon Diggs, because I know that this is a revenge game for Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins because
Mac Hollins.
Yeah, both of these two play for the Buffalo Bills. But could you see some production from Kayshon Boutte, Austin, and maybe if there is a chance, maybe see glimpses of Kyle Williams?
Yeah, so I think this is like one of those perfect fairy tale stories kind of put together. It's like Stephon Diggs gets kicked from the Bills because probably being a cancer, is probably the end of his road there. He ends up going to the Texans, gets hurt. He decides to sign with the Patriots, who just so happens to play the team he just spent, 5 some odd years with. And of course he's going to have some anger, I guess, towards that, some animosity. He wants to get his lick back. He wants to perform well against the Bills. There definitely is a world where I think Stephon Diggs does take over this game. I think the fact that Diggs is playing out of the slot role for the Patriots now over somebody like a Demario Douglas does favor us well against the Bills. I think he's going to look to attack a lot of the zone coverage that the Bills will do. And in that sense, Diggs is really good at sitting in those open spots in the zone. I'm interested to see if the defensive coordinator for the Bills does key in on Stephon Diggs, because I feel like in this scenario, having Stephon Diggs, he's obviously a shell of a player of what he once was, but he still warrants having probably your top corner on him. So does that open up, Hunter Henry, who's been arguably our top receiver on the year? Does it open up a Kayshon Boutte who had a crazy 50-yard sideline bomb last year against the Bills in that close game? It's definitely interesting to see. I do think Boutte is probably going to have a breakout again. He had one week 1, and since then he's been quiet. I'd really hope Boutte comes into this game and just balls out while Buffalo's too busy having to key in on Diggs.
Interesting, because obviously we want to see some production from all of our weapons. Even Hunter, we could probably see some Hunter Henry, but I think Hunter Henry might go up against either Bernard or maybe Shaq Thompson, I would assume, because there's going to be questions if Milano will be playing for that matchup. But let's talk about this offensive line going up against the Bills' defensive line. Will this be a test to see? I'll ask you this, Austin. Will this be a test for Will Campbell to either go up against Joey Bosa or Greg Rousseau?
Arguably, I think it's his biggest test of the year. Quite frankly, I think outside of TJ Watt, because Alex Highsmith wasn't really playing and TJ Watt was on the other side. I mean, he hasn't had to face Max Crosby, right? Morgan Moses had to face him. We're looking at the Dolphins. I think all their premier edge rushers were on IR or just out that week. Really, Will Campbell hasn't necessarily been tested to that degree yet. So the fact he's going to have to go against one of the premier pass rushers in Joey Bosa, or, a very solid pass rusher in Greg Russo on that left side, it definitely does scare me. Campbell has looked poised up to this point. He has looked very solid. I believe his pass blocking grade, like the past 2 games, he's allowed 0 pressures, 0 sacks, 0 hurries. Like, he's just been out of this world. He could have been he's been everything that you want out of a first round tackle pick. But again, he hasn't necessarily faced that top end competition. It is very interesting, and I really don't know, especially if Ed Oliver's a go for this game. That's a very scary front, and then you're talking, okay, who needs help? There's a good chance the Patriots O-line could be very discombobulated and not knowing what blocking assignments to really pick up against this aggressive front.
Interesting. Well, I'm curious to see if Ed Oliver will be active for this upcoming game, because as we all know, Ed Oliver is a crucial key point to the Buffalo's D-line, but we could also see some Deon Walker, who could be a disruptive factor for the Buffalo Bills D-line. So this will be a test for the interior Patriots interior offensive line. But there was also a report from Mike Vrabel that he said that Jared Wilson is ready for the Buffalo Bills game. How do you feel about Jared Wilson being back at left guard? Because we've seen some great performance from Ben Brown. Granted, it was up against the Panthers, but what are your thoughts on Jared Wilson being back at left guard?
Yeah, I mean, he played lights out with Campbell on the left side of that offensive line. Quite frankly, Garrett Bradbury's been kind of a blessing in disguise, unsung hero. Bradbury's somebody that we signed off the Vikings, because they cut him, and we didn't think he was really going to turn into anything. And lo and behold, he's the highest ranked pass blocker in the entire league, which is insane. But again, I don't know the level of competition we're really going against, because we have gone against some of these bottom tier teams, so to say. Like Buffalo's our real first test. In terms of Jared Wilson, I thought Ben Brown played very well, so I wasn't necessarily hurt on, okay, if Jared Wilson can't go, oh no, we have to deal with Brown. I thought Brown would have been fine. It's obviously a better deal that Jared Wilson is back, and that whole left side of the line there, I'm not necessarily too concerned. I think they'll do what they need to do. I'm really concerned about whoever Morgan Moses is going to have to go against. If Morgan Moses has to go against the combination of Joey Bosa and Greg Russo, the entire game, I just think that side is going to turn into a turnstile. I really don't trust Moses. He's a veteran, and he's a body, and he's better than Vidarian Blow, of which we had last year. But it's just going to be scary. But yeah, I like Jared Wilson. I do. And I think we'll be fine in that position.
Could we also see this could also be a test for Drake Maye to see if he can move outside the pocket and if he can make accurate reads, because this Bills defense is completely different from the Panthers defense as far as we know. But we see lights out from Drake Maye going up against this Bills defense before, but this time, since they potentially might add Michael Hoy or Larry Ogunjobi, but I think that it's. Wait, Anthony, are they still on their 5 or 6 suspension, if I'm not mistaken? Or
yeah, we have Hoyt and the other guy. Yeah, it's a hard. These names are hard to pronounce at times. Yeah. Larry Ogunjobi. Yeah, they're both suspended.
Okay, so we won't see them until week 50. But will this be a test for Drake Maye, considering that they did ball out against the Bills defense last time they played at Buffalo?
I'm sorry, what was that again? I apologize.
I was going to ask Austin if this is going to be a test for Drake Maye to go up against this Bills defense, or we've seen this kind of performance before week 16 last year?
I think anytime you go against one of the better teams in the NFL, it's going to be a test for your young quarterback. Drake May really didn't even get going until a couple starts in. It's going to be tough. I really don't see a world where we win this game, to be honest with you. I could see it being a blowout too. But at least it's going to be somewhat competitive, I feel. But yeah, it's definitely Drake May's toughest matchup for this entire season, because lots of the teams that we've gone against either have, just one edge rusher or just one D tackle, or they have a star, defensive back or a linebacker. Like, it just feels like the Buffalo Bills have slowly amassed this like killer defensive front. They got, not the corners that they wish they had, but the corners that basically are able to fill in when needed. It seems like they just seem to make plays when it matters most. And very similar to like some Patriots teams in the past that I watched, where we didn't necessarily have the best corners, but they just made the right plays at the right times. And then their linebacker room is lights out, especially if they get Milano. Like I said, it's the best defense we've gone against, and it's going to be really tough for May. I assume May's honestly going to be rolling out of the pocket probably 50% of the time, to be honest with you. He's going to have to use his legs if we're going to have any chance of passing and or opening up the run game against this Bills team.
I see. Also, we all know that the Bills' run defense is questionable. Could this be an advantage for this run game by the Patriots offense, because we had lack of production from this run game? And we all know about Stevenson's fumbling issues, because there's been a lot of fumbling issues with Stevenson and obviously Gibson, and probably we could see some more Henderson. What do we expect for our running backs to go up against this run defense for the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I mean, with the Buffalo Bills, unfortunately, ranking as low as they do with rushing yards per game, it definitely kind of puts the ball in our court. It's like, are we going to be able to just outright run all over them, and that's how we're going to win the game? We're just going to win by, time of possession, slow, methodical drives down the field, mix in a couple play actions, and that's what our semblance of drives are going to look like for the entire game, and that's how we're going to win the game. I mean, that very well could be the game plan. It's the Buffalo Bills pass rush is very good, which I think attributes to the corners being able to make those plays. Like, they're not giving the opposing quarterback much time to really throw at all. So at that point, yeah, like, I think in order for the Patriots to win, we are going to have to get the run game going. That's irregardless of if it was the Bills or not. I think for any team to succeed in this league, you need a run game. As great a quarterback as Josh Allen is, like, he wins games with his legs. He wins games by handing the ball off to James Cook, and James Cook takes games over. Like, pretty much, you look around, every good team in the NFL has a premier quarterback and pretty much a premier running back, or just people that can get it done in that sense. So, and often, it's running back by committee too, which is proven to be good in the sense of like Gibbs and Montgomery, and we're slowly starting to see that with Ramondre and Trevion. I'm not saying they're anywhere near Sonic and Knuckles, but maybe they can be like a little lightning and thunder. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm interested to see how much they're going to use Trevion this week, because in recent weeks it's really just been give the ball to Ramondre and just sprinkle these guys in. And I'd really like if they just kind of let Trevion have the reins and really test this Buffalo run defense with his speed and his quickness.
Interesting. Let's not talk about speaking of Josh Allen, this is going to be an ultimate test for this defensive line, especially with Harold Landry and maybe getting Farmore. And we don't know if Milton Williams is going to be playing, but I could see some Tonga. I could see like Jennings, but maybe play. But will this be a test to get Josh Allen? Because we all know going up against Josh Allen is never easy, especially how mobile Josh Allen is.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. as good as our pass rush has been at times this year, winning us some games like against Miami, it's hard. I mean, Milton Williams was injured for some of the week. I think he just returned to practice today, so it's a good chance he still plays,
Yeah.
but that injury definitely concerns me in terms of getting to the quarterback. We do have Christian Barmore, who's slowly having a resurgence in his career. Unfortunately, he had to deal with all those blood clots, which left him out, but of course, you take care of your health first, so I'm glad that he's back and he's kind of been coming into his own. Harold Landry has honestly probably been the signing of the entire offseason. He's definitely earned his contract already, I feel, with the sacks that he's put up for us. And then opposite of that, Caleb Chason has been pretty solid as well. We do have a few rotational pieces, but with us also saying, the Bills, front on the defense is one of the top in the league, you pretty much have to say the exact same thing about their offensive line. Their offensive line has been pretty lights out for them as well. Like Anthony said, last year is 14 sacks allowed. Like, that's insane. That's insane. I feel like we let up 14 sacks in like 3 games last year. We were playing musical chairs with our offensive line. So the fact that your offensive line has been able to stay healthy, stay together, grow together, and protect the quarterback the way they are. Yeah, Josh Allen's probably fudging some of those stats with his ability to run the ball and get out of trouble. But yeah, it's just going to be really tough. That Bills offensive line is really good. And I think they're just going to do a really good job of getting Josh Allen. I'm sure we'll get a sack here or there, but I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be likely because we barely got 1 sack out of Bryce Young, but I think there was some holding calls on that Panthers offensive line, excuse me. But the only player we got to also take care of outside of Josh Allen is none other than James Cook. And I know that Jack Gibbons may hit a lot of plays, especially going up against Hubbard. And, Hubbard and Dowdy.
Going against.
Yeah. But will we see more production out of Jack Gibbons and probably Robert Splay going up against James Cook, because we saw Gibbons making plays against the run?
We're going to need to see some production out of those guys. I mean, Spillane has arguably been one of the worst signings we've had, honestly. I mean, we all had high hopes of him, but he's, since being on our team, I think he has most missed tackles in the league. He's like completely opposite of the Bills linebacker we were talking about earlier. The name eludes me, but yeah, like Spillane really needs to get his head out of his ass, really needs to just start being physical and taking proper angles and getting tackles. And, we are going to have to rely on him and Gibbons with their instinctual play if we are to stop James Cook. Otherwise, we might as well just load up the MayeFlower and start heading back to Boston already, because we're going to be defenseless against this run game. I mean, as dangerous, I literally compare how dangerous Josh Allen and James Cook's is to Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry when healthy. Like, they're just a dynamic duo, and they're going to be incredibly hard to stop. And I think we're going to need – it's pretty much all hands on deck. You need everyone. Everybody's going to have to tackle. Everybody's going to have to be physical. Everybody needs to be physical and needs to get in there, because if not, the Bills will just manhandle you. The Bills will just have your way with you.
Yeah, it seems like Thomas currently has a connection issue, so he will be back. But let's quickly get onto the combination. The matchups for the Patriots quarterbacks going up against Shakir, Coleman, and possibly Joshua Palmer, and including Curtis Samuel. But
Elijah Moore.
Oh, I forgot about Elijah Moore. I forgot to ask you this, Anthony. Let me quickly ask this: how has Elijah Moore been for this Bills offense? Since I forgot about him.
I think Elijah Moore is doing what Curtis Samuel came to Buffalo last year to do. Elijah Moore is doing what Samuel should have did last year that he's doing this year. So, but with Curtis Samuel being healthy now, because he was injured and then he's back, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel as far as how they're going to utilize both of them. So that's going to be something that I'm actually interested in looking at. That's what I am interested in this football game, was how are they going to utilize Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore in this game coming up.
Interesting. And when we talk about this, Austin, I could see Gonzo going up against Coleman, maybe, or maybe against Shakir. I could see. Do you think it's got to be Gonzo against Coleman or Davis against Coleman, and then probably Gonzo against Shakir?
It's probably Gonzo, Coleman, and probably Carlton, Shakir,
and then probably Marcus Jones onto either Morton.
I mean, I could see Marcus Jones on Shakir as well, because Marcus Jones plays out of the
slot
nickel, so that's why it's. Okay. I feel like that's a good matchup. I generally, if I can help it, I always want Marcus Jones on somebody comparable in size and speed. He drove me crazy, like against the Steelers, when he's like getting lined up over on the side of DK Metcalf. I'm like, why is this happening? Like, it's literally a kid among giants. Like, that's what it feels every time Marcus Jones is on defense. Yeah. I think this is like, I think our corner room is like the one clear advantage we have over the Bills. And I feel like Gonzo being out for as long as he did kind of hurt our pass defense grade, and the fact that he's back and he was able to warm up kind of against the Panthers just bodes incredibly well for us against the Bills. As much as we haven't been tested or because of our opponents, I don't think the Bills have necessarily been tested outside of the Ravens, who I assume everybody was healthy, but that would have probably been the best defense you guys face. So I think this will be a test for you guys. Defensive wise, I think our corner room is probably best, if not top 5 in the league, just with that pair of Gonzo and Carlton Davis. So I'm really hoping we can shut down the Bills receivers, but I feel like that's more wishful thinking.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking for sure. Speaking of Gonzo being back, how do you feel about Gonzo's return against the Carolina Panthers? And considering that there's some rust off of him, 2 out of 3 passes allowed for 31 yards allowed.
Yeah, Thomas, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, thanks. Because I haven't spoken a long time here since my internet had to crash. So seeing Gonzo back, really means everything for this defense. Because those first 3 games we played without Gonzo at this point, like, it's just ridiculously tough. Against the Raiders, yeah, we did not do well here. Dolphins, it's the Dolphins that, in my opinion, they're trash. Anyway, then we got the Steelers that we should have won here. Again, we just the penalties, so. But when we get to week 4, we went last week against Carolina when Gonzo went one-on-one with Ted McMillan. He did a good job defending him. He did a good job defending the top receivers on that team, honestly. But it's Carolina. Again, like, they're one of the bottom-feeding teams in the NFC South, but they're not the worst team in the division because it belongs to the Saints. So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to also ask you this, Thomas. With Marcus Jones, even though he could be, there's questions about him as a corner, but well, when we talk about special teams, I know this will be a final thing before we get to predictions. What could you see for the special teams on both sides, especially with Marcus Jones balling out, breaking a franchise record over Mike Haynes' record?
Yikes. Is this on me again?
Yep. Yep, this is on you, Thomas.
I mean, it's stupid internet again. Anyway, so really shocked that Marcus Jones just broke that record of like punt return yards. Like, dude, like, honestly, like I honestly just like he's like. I literally thought that one of our wide receivers or other players are just the fastest guys on the team. Like, nobody's been talking about Marcus Jones. nobody's been talking about Marcus Jones ever since we drafted him when he came out of Houston. I have no idea who the hell he is. I thought we put him as a backup corner, but put him in special teams. Like, he is like probably the best ideal situation at this point here. And like, honestly, having Marcus contribute to the special teams besides Antonio Gibson, or what Coach Vrabel called him, Gibby, like iCarly reference. So I literally think he did a good job at that game last week. I think he will contribute more on the special teams side of things. So most likely, now we're going to see more of him here on special teams, defense side of the ball here. Especially we had to go against Buffalo, which their offense is completely explosive when it comes to their receivers, and including the MVP Josh Allen, who is impossible to go against at this point.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting to see how both special teams are going to look, especially for the Bills and the Patriots. I want to ask you this, Anthony. I forgot to ask you this about the kickers. We all know that Tyler Bass is currently on IR, and we've seen some Matt Prater a lot. What are your thoughts on this whole kicking situation so far?
I think I think Buffalo's in a unique situation to where when Tyler Bass does get healthy is what's going to happen. Because my thing is with Matt Prater stepping in, he's in his 40s and he kind of retired, and he was coaching his son's football team when he got the phone call to go to play for week 1 against the Ravens. You know, I mean, they get the phone call on Thursday. He does the physical on Friday, and the walkthrough on Saturday, and then Sunday night he kicks the game winner. I mean, it's crazy. So they're in a very, very unique situation. I know a lot of Bills fans are not happy with Tyler Bass. Personally, you know, I mean, as long as you can score touchdowns in the red zones, you know, Bass just needs to come up when it's critical, and he has done that. He did that last year a couple times, you know, with the Miami Dolphin game, you know, kicking that long yard, that 50-something yard field goal to beat the Dolphins and as time expired. So I think Bass is the future. I think still, but you never know.
Interesting. Well, I think it's about time we get into the game predictions. It's been a while enough, but I'll start with you, Anthony, since you're our guest here. But we all know that I know that you're a Bills fan and you know that the Bills are going to win. But what is your score prediction?
I think it's going to probably be in the 20s. I think it's going to, I don't know. It could be 33-26 final score. You know, maybe, you know, I know Buffalo has scored at a minimum of 31 points a game in the last 4 games. You know, so why not just keep it up and be 33-26? I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Bills will have a little bit more moxie than the Patriots, and it's going to be at home. And Buffalo is 14-0 at home, and it's in prime time. And Allen's great when it comes to prime time underneath the lights.
Interesting. How about you, Austin?
Yeah, I think with the Bills having a 8.5 spread, it's, I don't know, Vegas rarely lies, but I think it's going to be Bills 27, Patriots 23. I do think it's going to be a closer game, but I do think just the fact that it's at home for the Bills in Orchard Park, the fact that they've been there before, like, we've pretty much gotten flexed out of every primetime game we possibly could have been over the past 5 years just because of how poor our team has been. So it's really kind of a new territory for us. And I don't know how well we're going to hold up at night under the lights. All the pressure's pretty much on us. So I think the only case for us upsetting is if we can somehow get the rushes over 30, really have a strong run game, and then hit them on like maybe 2 explosive passes or something like that. I don't know. But even then, I only have the Pats winning by like 2 in that alternate scenario. So, yeah, but final would be Bills 27, Patriots 23.
Thomas?
Yeah, I'm going with the same scenario as well. Do I ever see any hope on New England beating Buffalo? Yeah, it's 50-50 for me because, again, Buffalo owns us for the last couple of seasons. If there is a chance, if New England can win this game, it has to be the battle of the trenches at this point, the run game, and most importantly, avoiding stupid, pointless penalties on the offensive line. Like, come on. But I do see Buffalo winning this game. It's going to be on the 20s as well. I say Buffalo 23, New England 20.
Interesting scores. I'm also in the same boat. I think Bills are going to win, especially that they've been here before, especially it's prime time, and this is our very first prime. We haven't won a prime time game since that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Steelers. So it's been a while. And the last time we played in a primetime game, we got our asses kicked by the Jets. So that didn't help. But it's interesting how it's been a long time since we played in a primetime game, especially Sunday Night Football. And this is been a while since we won in a Sunday Night Football game. So for now, until I see otherwise, especially this is Drake May's very first full start in a primetime game. It's going to be national television. I could see Bills 28, Patriots 24. But Jamie says 34-32 Patriots. No surprise. I heard about that 10,000 times from him, so I'm not surprised. But that's going to be it for today's episode here of the Patriots MayeFlower Voyage. As always, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Anthony, as always, for joining us in this special episode of the Patriots MayeFlower Voyage, and we will be back with another one this upcoming Monday, maybe if I don't have a Zoom class to recap that Patriots Buffalo game on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be 8:20 Eastern, and I'm going to turn this over to you guys. In the comment section below, what are your thoughts on this upcoming Patriots-Bills games? And what are your scores for that Patriots-Bills game? And as always, guys, please make sure that you smash the like button. Hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps us grow significantly here on this channel. We are currently at 94 subscribers thanks to Thomas's girlfriend. So we need 6 more subscribers so we can have a special way to celebrate 100 subscribers, Q&As, a call-in show, Austin giving away some cards, and also a potential new Discord server for the Patriots Clubhouse gang. So that should be fun, and you guys don't want to miss this. If you click that subscribe button and click that like button, and also share this with some of your friends if they haven't seen this already. And as always, guys, go Bills / go Pats.
Go Pats.
Thank you. You guys, everyone, go Bills.